today I want you to go through a journey. My personal journey, briefly, and the national journey as I see it. I grew up in a village. I went to Telugu medium school, the government school. In those days, Panchayat Samiti is Jilla Parishad. The teachers were paid probably about 150 to 200 rupees salary. After school, they had no building. Attached hut. It was leaking. Conditions you can imagine. I left school 56 years ago. You can very well imagine how things were some 56 years ago. Despite all that, tens of thousands of us had outstanding education. Emerging from village India, from ordinary families, their potential was fulfilled. They could make a huge difference to themselves, their families, the community around them, and to the country, in some respects, the world. When I go back to the same school today, you have proper buildings, toilets, compound walls, plenty of teachers. Teachers' average salary in government is now a minimum of 60,000-70,000. Some of them get paid 1,50,000. Intense competition. Outcomes wise, there's not a child in the school who has a realistic future. I wanted to reflect on that. If 50, 60 years ago we could provide good quality education to everybody, at least those who came to school, today after spending multiple times that money, in a society where there's phenomenal demand for education, where parents sacrifice enormously for the sake of the children, how come our children are not getting the best? They're bright, they're hardworking, the parents sacrifice a great deal, government spend enormous amounts of money, society values education, but outcomes are appallingly bad for the bulk of the people. This is the personal journey. Look at the national journey. We missed the first three industrial revolutions largely. Colonialism, backwardness, we're catching up now. For 10,000 years, the world had seen stagnation. Agricultural economy, world over 10,000 years, was stagnant economy because if the weather was good, you had enough to eat. If the weather gods were unkind, you starved. No growth on a sustained basis. For the first time with the Industrial Revolution, growth started. You know, the first Industrial Revolution in Britain, the growth rate was 1 to 2%. We call it a revolution because it never happened. But today, we expect easily 7-8% growth is possible. Some countries achieved 9-10% growth. Before I take you through the slides, to look at what needs to be done in school education, very quickly, because you understand most of the facts, we have to logically come to rational conclusions. Let me give you just one number. Let's say India grows at 8%. Versus, let's say India grows at 5% because we do nothing much. We don't do what is required to make India grow. You know, the difference in about 9 years' time is $1.8 trillion in GDP. That is 150 trillion rupees. 150, that means 150 lakh crore rupees. That means a loss of per capita income of 1 lakh rupees per person. A loss of 30 lakh crores for the governments in terms of revenues. That money could have gone for more welfare, better infrastructure, more investment for the future. By not doing what it takes to enhance our growth rates and to include the bulk of the ordinary people, you know, it's not enough that our children get good education, 10-20%. Unless every child of India gets the opportunity to fulfill her potential, as a country, we will lose very badly economically, socially, and politically. Therefore, it's a plea to do the simple, practical things without spending a rupee extra to improve the outcomes of school education in the country. I don't know if there's a God, but I believe there is a sin. To me, the greatest sin is unfulfilled potential. Nature endowed every child with certain potential. Every child. But if you as a society, we as a society are not able to take care of the child's potential, harness that potential, then that's an immense tragedy. Just to look at some numbers, the student population of India in schools is only slightly less than American population, 235 million. About two-thirds, a little under 63% are in government schools, 37% are in private schools. We are spending 3.6% GDP on school education alone. People talk about 6% GDP on education. It's a very unrealistic number, because rest of the world doesn't spend much more. And you know what? Rest of the world, 95% kids are in government schools, good outcomes. Here only 63% are in government schools, bad outcomes. So expenditure is not the issue. If somebody tells you 6% we are not spending, this is all shibboleth, as we call it. No, we're used to saying some things as a standard phraseology without thinking, without looking at numbers, without applying logic. Enrollment is pretty good. Up to 8th grade, 95, 100%. Public expenditure I mentioned to you. Pass percentage is 96%, so why am I standing here boring you? Ranks are wonderful. Every family in India lives for ranks and marks and grades. Cut-off mark is this, you go to college, 98%, 99%. But how illusory it is. This is a global survey called PISA. The rich countries have a survey at the age of 15, actual measurement of outcomes, not the way Indian examinations are conducted, but they actually see what the kid has learned. Communication and comprehension, understanding mathematical concepts and applying them for real problems, and the ability to apply logic to derive reasonable conclusions. That's what science is. See where India is. Out of 74 entities, the 2 Indian entities that were involved in that, they ranked 72nd and 73rd respectively. Our mental image of our country is, we have Sundar Pichai, you have Satya Nadella, you have Indira Nooyi, you have all these fantastic people all over the world. We are conquerors of the world, we are somewhere here. We are capable of that, but we are somewhere here. Now, this is not to debunk our country. This is to recognize what is happening and do the necessary things to set it right. I'm a great optimist, but romanticism is not optimism. True optimism is understanding the reality, changing it when it's not very good. And see the countries that are doing very well. The rich countries, obviously, we expect them, but Shanghai, China is number 1. South Korea, number 2. Finland expected. Hong Kong, China is number 4. It's doable. I started talking about this. This happened in 2009. I started talking about this. Look, we have to introspect. We have to see what is wrong with our school education. Our kids are very bright. Let's do something about it. I thought that the decision makers, the policy makers will take note and set things right. You know what they did? I was completely flummoxed. I did not anticipate that. They said India shall not participate in PISA surveys hereafter. Now it's 16 years after that. Since then, we did not participate in the PISA survey. You bury your head in your sand and then think the problem disappeared. Now I don't even have comparison to talk except 2009 data. That's not the right way to run the country or protect our future. Our children deserve more. Now, why is 96% pass and ranks, why are they illusory? The government itself, PISA survey you may reject. No, Western countries, rich countries, OECD, who are they to tell us? All right. Let's take our own government survey. There's something called National Achievement Survey. They conduct a survey on a sample basis to see whether the kid has acquired the proficiency at that level, levels of learning as they call it. You see in this graph, the blue line is the pass percentage. 92, 95, 96, a very Indian person. The bottom, state-wise, proficiency, how much have they learned for that grade? 15% in government schools, and 27% in private schools in Andhra Pradesh. Telangana, 7% private schools or government schools and 17%. 96% pass. Look at the numbers. Rajasthan is a little better, but no state is doing well. Some states are doing appallingly badly. Our children deserve better. The government is not spending enough is a common perception. I already mentioned to you, I'll take you through that quickly. There are not enough teachers, another common perception. Parents are not paying enough attention. The students are not working hard enough. My generation used to work very hard. These kids are no use. They're common perceptions, absolute nonsense. Governments are spending enormous sums. Andhra Pradesh, the government for school education spends 1,17,000 rupees, 583. Other states, Andhra Pradesh has some other programs called Amavadi, etc. But other states, 85,000, 69,000, 85,000. Remember, India is a poor country. Per child, per year expenditure in school. This is not chicken feed. This is a very considerable sum. So expenditure is not enough is a bogus argument. Should the government spend more? Please remember, enrollment in government schools is declining. Look at this graph. COVID time, because private schools were closed, government school enrollment of paper went up, but there's actually a declining number. More important, the child population of India is actually decreasing. We are still thinking of 30 years ago problem. Because now birth rates have come down. The number of children born per unit population has come down. Therefore, the number of school-going children in most states of India is actually decreasing. When the population of children of school-going age is decreasing, when a significant number of them are in private schools, there is no case for spending more. Spending wisely, spending better is what we need, not spending more from government and school education. Compared with other countries, USA spends for school education 3.9% GDP, UK 3.3%, India 3.6%. But they have 90% plus kids in government schools with much, much, much better outcomes. We have 63% only in government schools, and that number is decreasing as a proportion as well as numbers, with very, very poor outcomes. Are there not enough teachers? Government doesn't have enough teachers. You know what? The teacher-student ratio in government is excellent. Primary school, the norm is 30 kids to one teacher. Actual achievement in India is 21 kids per teacher. Upper primary, 35 children per teacher is the norm. Actual achievement is 18 children per teacher. Secondary schools, 30 kids per teacher. Norm. Actual, 16 kids per child. Your best schools can't have better teacher-student ratio. Another myth dispelled. Are the parents not paying enough attention? These are random newspaper stories. Families cut food, entertainment expense to send kids to private schools, research shows. Tuition, private tuitions, they're spending thousands of crores in addition to school fee because parents are desperate. They sacrifice anything. From poor to rich, rickshaw pullers, vegetable vendors, disproportionate sums they're willing to spend for their children's education in the hope they get a head start. Are students not working hard enough? You all know. I'm sure many of you raise children. The amount of pressure children go through in a monstrous examination system based on rote learning without any understanding. The stress is great, learning is little, the pressure is enormous. The bundles of books, no, every morning when I go for the walk, by the time I come back for the walk, 7 o'clock, I see mothers taking their children to the school or taking them to the school bus or whatever. Every day, the amount of burden that the students are carrying, and some kids are not able to handle that. We hear of tragic cases of suicide, depression at a very young age. So none of the traditional arguments hold good. Now, what are our foundational literacy levels? These are surveys at the age of 14 to 16 and 16 to 18. That means they finished primary school or high school, 10 years of schooling they had. So 16 to 18 years, you know about, look at that 14 to 16 for instance, the blue line is, can they calculate time? I slept at 8 o'clock in the night, woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. How many hours have you slept? A simple question like that. At the age of 14 to 16, 16 to 18, only in the 40s, about 40-45% kids can calculate this, all of India. How many hours have you slept? 16 to 18. We expect them to be productive members of a modern economy in 21st century, in the fourth generation industrial revolution. You take, can they at least divide, not even know how to divide, why to divide, just can they divide at 365 divided by 7. 16 to 18, only 41% people can divide, a simple division. Can they apply discount? You bought something for 10,000 rupees, you have, let's say, 10% discount. How much discount have you got? Only 41%, 16 to 18, 34.9% in 14 to 16. If you throw them into the ocean of modern economic management, how can these kids flourish? So what to do? Let me come to the concluding portion. Redefine success. When the demand is very strong, when everybody wants good education, but they don't know what is good education, that is the problem. Now create a system where you redefine success and then everybody will figure out how to get that success. Now rote learning, mass copying, soulless examination, marks and ranks, we are doing superbly. But to no effect at all, zero value. If it's concept-based learning, understanding, you test actually understanding the concepts and application of that knowledge. If that's what is expected of them, they will figure out. You can do 100 other things. You have more teachers, better pedagogy, better textbook. I have no problem. But the central issue is utilize the demand, redefine success, create a right kind of incentive for genuine learning. Rationalizing schools, we have teachers, plenty, but there are schools without teachers. There are schools without students. I'll show you some data later. It's shocking. Just manage the human resources available better. Engage local stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the former students, because even if you don't care for the school at a personal level, you don't have any personal need for the school, if you are a student of a school, you have the emotional attachment, you want to improve that. Involve them. Bring some accountability. Accreditation of schools. Forget government or private. You know, Deng Xiaoping famously said, that's a Chinese proverb, it does not matter whether the cat is black or white. What matters is whether the cat will catch mice. I don't care which school the kids go to. I want every kid of India to have a chance to really fulfill her potential, to learn the basics, to be able to make something of their life later, whatever they want to do in their lives. Forget government, private, all this. That's not the issue. The kids must flourish. Their potential must be fulfilled. So when the demand is strong, but the quality supply is very limited, and that's where many of your children go to, and that's why there's a lot of demand for these few schools, and even there they're not doing a very good job. They're a little better than other schools. And you all know as parents and grandparents how much of effort you have to put in. My God, will my kid get the seat there? My God, what is the fee structure? How much do I have to pay? You know, we all went through that. Then what happens is, students work hard to achieve results and ranks. In rote learning and mass copying, outcomes are very high in terms of pass. Proficiency, 93% pass, proficiency is 21%. It's inevitable. Now, but when the outcome is the same, because what they're aspiring for is the same, it's marks and ranks in a soulless system, which does not understand what are the educational outcomes we need. So the school may be better, the teachers may care a little more, but outcomes are not much different. If you notice the surveys in the country, Private schools are a little better than government schools, but not much better. Now, government spends more money. There's because of high demand for quality education. Private schools cost more, government spends more money. But again, when the incentive is not altered, you're not getting the outcomes, and the job market is saying you're unfit. No matter what degrees you have, you're unfit. Because without school education foundations, higher education will fail too. So what is the way out? You change the nature of examination. You don't have to put in too many resources, optimal resources, but change the nature of examination, the goal. Concept-based learning, without stress, you don't have to mug up, and somehow create a system where copying is not possible, and there are ways of doing it. There are technological and practical ways of doing tests in a manner that they are generally free from mass copying. Because 30 years ago, I would not know how to say this. It's enough to say, make it concept-based learning. Now we have to also say honest examination, because mass copying has now become rampant. In one state, when they tried to reduce copying, one national channel brought the education minister on the channel and then challenged him. How can you say no copying? How will poor kids then pass? And the minister had to apologize. I'm sorry, we don't mean to hurt the poor, but we want to improve it. What a sorry state we come to, that we have to apologize for minimizing copying? So let us reshape it. The second is choice and competition. Accredit the schools, doesn't matter private or government, and particularly schools with a relatively low budget, 25,000-30,000 rupees fee. Some of them are doing a very difficult job reasonably well. Recognize them, and wherever possible, you meet that cost, because when the government is spending 1 lakh rupees, 90,000 rupees, let them choose so that the accountability will be institutionalized without spending extra money. There are ways of doing it within the existing expenditure burden. And once you redefine the success, outcomes will automatically mean that pass percentage is equal to proficiency. There is no outrageous examination result and terrible outcomes in terms of proficiency. So continuous assessments, concept-based questions without stress, without rote learning, and curbing widespread exam malpractices. You have seen what happened. I told you about my story as a child. What was different then? Well-structured, honestly conducted examination. I had, every one of us, every class, we had 6 examinations. And the printed paper, there were no computers, there were no technology, nothing, but printed papers used to come. They were sensible examinations. 3 class tests, as we call, and then quarterly, half-yearly, annual exam. And they were really testing our mettle. They were taken seriously. Very rarely somebody was detained, but when they tried to give extra classes and extra support, but they're not able to measure up to the next level, there's no point. Therefore, the few people, maybe 1 or 2% used to be detained, but detention is not the issue. The issue is that you have to measure up to certain standards. Honest evaluation, no copying, and accountability mechanisms. Once locally controlled, the schools were locally controlled. So all the local pressure used to be to get the best teacher for their village. My grandfather and all his colleagues, they spent 25 rupees per acre in those days, equal to 1 or 2 bags of paddy now, 4,000 to 5,000 rupees, to build the school, because it's for them, for their children. If there's a math teacher who is good somewhere in the district, they used to go and fight and say, we want that teacher in our school. If there's a good headmaster, they used to say, we want this headmaster. So local accountability, local ownership. Look at these horrific numbers. There are 13,000 schools in India. I'm not misspeaking. Schools exist with teachers, 0 kids. Not 1 kid enrolled. And these schools have 32,000 teachers. Indian nation or the states are paying for the 32,000. Typically, a teacher's salary in government would be, let's say in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, annually about 7 lakh rupees or 8 lakh rupees, average. Multiply 32,000 by 8 lakh rupees, 32,000 by 8 lakh rupees, 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 8 You get the idea of what's happening in the country? 8 lakh rupees, 32,000, about 3,000 crores, 2,500 crores. We're just paying without a single kid in the schools, let alone learning. How atrocious it is. And there are single teacher schools for 5 classes, 1,11,000 schools. So just rationalize, redistribute, have proper schooling with environment, not a single rupee extra expenditure. Weak incentives for better educational outcomes, no matter how much you spend, poor learning outcomes. Strong incentives are the kind we are now articulating. Without a single rupee extra expenditure, outcomes will improve. We are spending already in many states 65,000 rupees. Some states 1 lakh rupees, 80,000 rupees, 90,000 rupees. You don't have to spend more money. But by simply changing the way education is structured, by altering the incentives, the outcome will be outsized without spending a single rupee. It's magnified dramatically. So quality education, particularly school education, we all know, without those skills, you cannot be producers, entrepreneurs, or sensible citizens in a modern economy and modern society in 21st century. And poor school education means poor higher education. Why is it that 80% or 70% of the university graduates, engineering let's say, they're unemployable in India? You all heard so many stories in the country. Some of your employers. On the one hand, you are saying, where are jobs? On the other hand, employers are saying, where are skills? This is a simple, straightforward proposition. It's easily doable. It doesn't cost money. Everybody wants it. Instead of doing things like this, which are critical to include everybody in economic growth project, we are leading the people up the garden path. What are governments offering? Political parties offering? I have no anger against anybody XYZ, but as a general proposition, I'll give you government jobs. 100 jobs, 100,000 people apply. They waste a lot of time, spend a lot of money to get coaching. No matter what happens, only 100 get selected. 99,900, what happens to them? And the 100 who are selected, what are they doing in turn? Can the government be the employer primarily? Government is there to provide services with our money for our collective needs, our tax money. Government's job is not to be the principal employer of the country. Government's job is to meet our collective needs with our money, our tax money. That we have forgotten. What really is important to give everybody a chance and the country a chance of growth, we have ignored that. We pretend that there are other solutions. It's time we woke up. We can easily set it right. I want each of you to raise your voice, to understand what's happening in the country. Look at this low-hanging fruit. Without that inclusion in the growth process, without accelerating the growth, both inclusion and acceleration are required. Without inclusion and acceleration, India will not fulfill her potential as a country. We all have dreams of becoming a great country. We deserve it. We have the capacity. We have the potential. But to realize it, this is one of the key things. Other things exist too, but the most important thing is education, education, education. Thank you.